A UN inquiry says Israel deliberately killed Palestinian children. Not as collateral damage as strategy. To destroy, in the Commission's own words, the biological continuity of the Palestinian people. 20,000 children dead, 58,000 orphaned. Israel calls the report a libellous sham. The UN calls it genocide. A new United Nations inquiry has accused Israeli authorities and security forces of deliberately targeting Palestinian children during the Gaza war, alleging actions that amount to genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes. The findings were released on June 23rd by the UN Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem and Israel, which examined alleged violations against Palestinian children since the war began on October 7, 2023. According to the Commission, children accounted for roughly 30% of all deaths in Gaza during the reporting period. The UN inquiry says Israel deliberately targeted and killed Palestinian children as part of a strategy to destroy the biological continuity of the Palestinians in Gaza. Presenting the findings, Commission Chair Srinivasan Muralidhar said the inquiry had found what he described as direct evidence of systematic abuses.
The Commission found indisputable evidence with regards to the deliberate, targeted killing of Palestinian children, including since the October 2025 ceasefire, the use of torture, inhumane and degrading treatment, including use of sexual and gender-based violence against Palestinian children, as well as targeting of critical infrastructure essential to children such as orphanages, healthcare, and educational facilities. There has been a widespread and systematic killing and harming of children between 7th October 2023 and 7th October 2025. We have witnessed more than 20,000 children who've been killed and more than 44,000 children who've been injured. Children constitute 30% of all those killed in OPT, and the killing and injuring of children has been a continuing activity.
The report also highlighted what it described as a deepening humanitarian crisis among Palestinian children.
There is also a severe orphan crisis with an estimated 58,554 children who lost one or both parents between 7th October 2023 and 7th October 2025. There has been a systematic disruption by Israel of the children's ability to learn, thereby sabotaging the intellectual and social foundations of the Palestinian society. The Commission's findings are that Israel targets children to weaken demographic vitality and deny the Palestinian people's right to self-determination. 97% of all schools have been destroyed. 95% of the universities have been affected in Gaza. 22 out of the 38 universities have been completely destroyed.
The Commission further alleged that Israeli policies created conditions threatening children's survival.
We have found the use of starvation and imposition of conditions of life obstructing children's survival. As of 1st October 2025, there have been 151 children's deaths on account of malnutrition. We've also found that between October and December 2023, there have been at least more than 1,000 instances of children undergoing amputation of one or more limbs. Based on all the evidence gathered, the report makes legal findings and concludes that the Israeli authorities and the Israeli security forces have deliberately targeted and killed Palestinian children and destroyed their childhood. Israeli authorities and the Israeli security forces are responsible for crimes against humanity, including persecution and war crimes in the Gaza Strip, and war crimes in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem. The report released today further substantiates our finding on genocide.
The inquiry also examined the occupied West Bank.
Our report concludes that the settler violence in the West Bank functions as a means of implementing Israeli state policies, with both the state and violent settler groups working in collaboration towards the same strategic objective: unlawful territorial expansion. It also concludes that Hamas has repeatedly committed grave abuses against Palestinians in Gaza, using the cover of Israeli military offensives and the broader collapse of law and order to carry out campaigns of repression, torture, and unlawful killings of Palestinians.
Israel rejected the findings, with its mission in Geneva calling the report a libellous sham.
Israel dismisses this libellous sham. Every child deserves protection, and the report ignored the brutal tactics of Hamas.
Meanwhile, Israeli officials speaking to the Jerusalem Post said that Hamas uses civilian infrastructure and human shields, and rejected accusations that children are deliberately targeted.
At least until 2025, around 40% of those killed in Gaza were Hamas, which is not a historically poor percentage in wars. This is especially true taking into account that Hamas systematically used human shields, with some areas like Rafah having booby traps in nearly every home, and hospitals and schools regularly used as command centers.
The report is likely to intensify international scrutiny of Israel's conduct in Gaza, while adding to the growing legal and diplomatic battle over allegations of genocide and war crimes stemming from the conflict.
يلا يا اولاد انزلوا في هروب ناس يلا يا معلم